Why do I cherry pick Bible verses to twist the Bible to say what I want? Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. Well, clearly I do that because I want to just use the Bible to support my own opinion that people should be more loving and accepting. While I do think people should do that, it's not what I do. But what I actually do could help any of you who are interested in studying the ancient spiritual texts of the Bible. So the first thing I do is something called a plain text reading of the passage in context, which means that I sort of zoom out to the narrative chunk that this particular Bible verse or verses appears in, the parable or the chapter or whatever, and I read it for just what it says. I read it plainly, and sometimes that's all you need. Like, for example, there's this verse that people use to say that the rapture is a thing, and it says that one person was left in the field, the other person was not. One person is like working, and the person that's working with them is taken. And if you just read the passage around it, you find out that the metaphor is Noah, and in Noah, it's not the good people that are taken, it's the bad people that are taken. So it couldn't possibly apply to this weird concept that doesn't exist called the rapture. And then I try to read the passage in the broader context of the book itself. And this is a little bit more detailed in that if you're looking at a book, you've got to look at the culture in which it was written and the author and what their values were. So, for example, in the book of Corinthians, the culture in Corinth, it was a very metropolitan culture. It had a lot of different cultures, a lot of different gods and religions, and some of those religions were more powerful, both politically and economically. And so when you read those kinds of things, it can shape how you understand a verse. So, for example, there's a verse in 2 Corinthians that said, you should not be unequally yoked with non-believers. Now, knowing that this is a place of trade and of commerce, it's a huge metropolitan place, and that some religions have like really important power politically and economically, you might read that and realize that, oh wait, this is talking about trade, right? This is talking about getting into business deals that maybe somebody might require you to be another religion or require you to do things that sort of go against your religious beliefs, which is actually what that verse means. It has nothing to do with dating. Oh, and the way the person can do that is they just go to the beginning of the book and read the introduction, because often the introduction will tell you a lot about the culture and a lot about the author that it's writing. But then sometimes either I'm really nerding out and just curious, or something just still doesn't sit right, or I'm confused about something. And in that case, I start consulting scholars. Now, I have a whole lot of academic commentaries, so I get to very easily consult a number of different well-respected scholars. But for the average person, I would say that the easiest way to do that is to find reputable scholars on here, like I would like Dan McClellan or Pete Enns, and see if they say anything about this passage or about this topic. Because a lot of times what you discover is there's some really important linguistic or cultural things going on that you just couldn't know about without having a PhD in Bible or ancient cultures. And those things can help, because you quickly realize that, oh wow, this is something that has everything to do with the ancient culture into which this is written, and very little to do with my culture, because what it is important to do is sort of excise the ancient culture out of the text you're reading, so that you can understand the underlying meaning, the underlying truth, and not just try to move one culture, an ancient culture, and apply it to today, because there's no reason to try to live like someone did 2,000 years ago. And you put it all together and you use your logical brain, and you really put a heavy weight on what the academic consensus is and what the academics are saying. And that's how you understand what an ancient verse means. Because ancient texts, any ancient text, and especially ancient spiritual texts, can be really confusing, really hard to read, because they were written to people in a very different time, in a very different culture, using languages, in the case of the Bible, that no longer even exist in those ancient forms. And so you need help. You need help. Now, But if you see somebody in my comments just post a single verse and, say I'm going to hell, that's cherry picking. That's what that is.